Welcome to Startup Hack. Today we're going to talk about an interesting business choice that Tesla has made that I think is a fascinating case study for all entrepreneurs. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Startup Hack. My name is Spencer Tomlinson. I am the CEO and co-founder of CleanRouter as well as many other products. Here are some lessons that I've learned building a successful business while challenging startup norms. My challenge is to push you to rethink startup success. All right, let's go ahead and dig in. So this is an interesting article that I was reading, and it's something that I've known about Tesla and studied about Tesla throughout the years. Obviously, I'm a Tesla fan. You can see me driving in it every morning here. But and honestly, it goes to exactly what we're talking about. I love my car. I'm actually not a big car guy, but I love my Tesla, and this is something that it's worth the extra money to me because it's the convenience, the charging, everything about it. And I'm a nerd, so I just nerd out on the technology. But I've loved everything about the Tesla, and it's really, and Musk to me has been very fascinating in some of the business choices that he's done. So from the very beginning, Tesla never spent any money on advertising, ever. They took all of the money from advertising and put it into R&D. So Tesla actually spends more per vehicle on engineering than any of the other automakers. Now, they're more profitable, however, per vehicle than any other automaker. So how can those two metrics be? Now, you'll notice that you've never seen a Tesla advertisement and Musk made public comments about this in 2019 when he said that Tesla will never spend any dollar on its advertising. It's essentially going to just make the best vehicle out there and it will sell itself. And it's a fascinating case study when we sit down and look at this idea that Tesla can just make the world's best vehicle, and then as a byproduct of that, it's just going to, people are going to love it and it's going to sell itself. So as we, continue to study this model and as we follow this through, we'll see a couple of other things. One of the other things that is kind of a little bit of a side note, and so maybe just a comment to make in this, is that Tesla has broken the dealer model, and that's partly how it's actually more profitable per vehicle, is because in the normal dealer model, Ford, GMC, the automaker has to actually sell at a relatively low margin to the dealer, who then has to add some margin to be able to make a profit to then sell it out to the consumer. Now, in Tesla's model, it's direct to consumer. So it's Tesla to consumer. No middleman, no dealer. Now, some states have kicked against this, and I think I know Texas is one of the states you still can't buy a Tesla in, and I think there's a few more that you can't buy Teslas in. But this model has actually allowed Musk to be able to keep the profit at Tesla and yet still be able to spend more on R&D. So we're not going to really go into the dealer model. I think it's pretty brilliant, and I love it because then there's no haggling. It's just kind of like getting on and buying something on Amazon. It is what it is. You pay the price, you get it. But the thing that's interesting to note here, and what I really want to do as a case study now to talk about to entrepreneurs, is what does this mean on your balance of spending for advertising versus R&D? Now, it's an interesting case study because I'm not sure that every entrepreneur out there and every small startup that this is really feasible. You can be the world's best plumber, but if you don't advertise, no one's going to ever find you. And I guess to some point, if you're the world's best plumber, you're going to start doing jobs word of mouth, and then you'll grow that way. And that may be true. And so there is some benefit to that. But ultimately, if you haven't done certain things, if you haven't put yourself out onto Google Maps and you haven't done some of these things to be found, and I'm using the plumber as an example, then no one's ever going to find you, and you won't, So it's a little different because Elon Musk went in with billions of dollars to build the next the greatest driving machine that he could. And I believe that he's done a great job with that. And I think the success that he's had has largely proven that. However, if we look at how you then manage this in your business, what is the balance that you should be putting between R&D to advertising? And it's a difficult thing. In CleanRouter's history, in the beginning, we really went with this mantra of, man, you build the perfect thing, it'll sell itself. And it definitely did help. Word of mouth has definitely in CleanRouter's history been a huge thing. We've gone through periods where we've completely stopped advertising, and word of mouth has continued to carry that momentum. So there's definitely a point in which we've spent less per advertising, I believe, than the competitors have had to, because we've have a great product. So there's definitely a truth to this. However, I'm not sure that that's realistic to say you would ever be able to spend no advertising, like ever. Now, in Musk's case, it worked. He was building the most beautiful driving machine. People kind of notice cars. Like it's kind of a little bit of a specific niche, I think. So I think he could get away with it. And he was doing something so revolutionary that people believed in it, and it did sell itself. And his pattern of starting with the supercar, which was extremely expensive, and then using that to basically fund development for the remaining years. These are some of the strategies that he did, and there's a lot of ways that you could do it. Do a similar type of a pattern. So I think the interesting point to note here, and the part I would really make sure that I counsel investor or entrepreneurs on here, is how much capital are you deploying to R&D versus how much capital are you deploying into advertising, and make sure that you're keeping that balance good. Because if you're spending a ton on advertising and selling a crappy product because you're not spending enough on R&D, there's definitely a point where you should start to tip that. There's other pieces to it too, because one of the other reasons is that if you spend a lot more on R&D and have a good product, you're probably going to have to spend a lot less on support. Musk has a fantastic support system and he's built a car that requires next to no maintenance. And so if everything goes well, then you really never need a maintenance. You don't even need oil changes on a Tesla. So I guess in that model, what is the way that you can build into your product, either tools, part of the service, what is it that you can build into your product that you're selling that will make it so it essentially maintains itself? That's another aspect of the R&D. And so one of the other parts that we've always looked at too is we've taken, we've looked at support issues and said, okay, if it's one time, but when we start seeing recurring support issues, I either A, fix the problem, which is generally the ideal, spend some R&D, fix the problem. 2, build a tool for support so that they can quickly and more manageably, fix an issue, and as they come up. And so, if we're not able to do number 1, and so in this second model, it's still a little bit of R&D in order to build the tool that our support personnel will need. So these are some of the things that I would just posture on a little bit and talk about, that I would encourage entrepreneurs to be thinking about and having some hard conversations on. Because if you're really spending and investing with the idea of what investing is, and I don't use that word lightly, investing into your own R&D, then I think you'll come up with a better product that will in the end sell more of the product that you're actually trying to sell. So those are my questions for you today. Make sure you grab your clean router. Make sure you grab your clean phone. Protect your kids on the go. The clean phone's doing awesome. We continue to send updates out over the air, continue to improve it, and make sure that we stay up with the latest and greatest. But parents love the ability to control the specific apps that their kids can use and allow, as their kids to grow, to allow the product to continue to grow with their kids. So make sure you grab yours, cleanphone.info and cleanrouter.com. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.